Welcome, degenerates, to week 4. It is I, your guy TJ, with the only person more degenerate than Johnny Manziel's NFL career, Watkins. Watkins, say hello.
I like that comparison.
So tonight we are going to finish off the NFC with the NFC West, and then we'll move on to the AFC. A couple things. Football's officially here. Today is the first preseason game.
Hall
Get
of Fame
excited.
game.
Yep, get excited. It starts in like 10 minutes.
Can't wait to see the Browns and the Jets fourth stringers play a game of football.
Hey, that's where we're going to make our money this year.
That's true.
In a 32-team league. So can't wait for that. Do have some housekeeping things. I started the Eliminator Challenge. I started on the wrong Discord channel, though, because I didn't have access on the overall channel. I will eventually move that over there for everybody else, but I saw some people have some questions about what Eliminator is, so I'm going to answer it again. Basically, you get one one ticket basically for $25 or a 3 for $50. For each ticket, you every week get to pick an NFL team that you think will win. If the team wins, you go on to the next week. If your team loses, that ticket is done. The thing is, you can only pick an NFL team per ticket once every year. So you can only pick, for example, the 49ers one time on one ticket. Once you lose, you're out. The winner take all, except for 10%. So, for example, if we get 10 people to do $50, that's $500 in the pot. All of that less than 10% is $450. Winner takes all that. So it is kind of more of a high stakes thing. It is fun to do. I've seen a lot of people do it for like raising money and stuff like that for like softball teams and stuff. I thought this would be kind of neat to do. One for one of us to win a boatload of money, and for two for a little bit of money for me and Watkins to throw into the into the degenerate fund for other prizes for other games and leagues that we do. So if you have any questions, you can always just let us know.
Trying to make some money that isn't our own to put into this.
Yeah. Pretty much. We're turning into something kind of like DraftKings Lite over here.
Yeah.
Except we don't keep the profits. Other than that, I have no housekeeping notes. Watkins, is there anything else you wanted to add before we get started?
Same thing I say every week. Dynasty IDP League and Salary IDP League still taking owners for the startup waitlist. I still got a lot of spots. Nobody's waitlisting for these leagues. At some point, if we can't keep it in house, I'm gonna start them and pull from Reddit or wherever, and we'll just get new members into the Discord, which I'm not against, but I wanted to keep them in house first.
Speaking of in house and in Discord and all that, we did send a link to one of our other 32 team leagues that me and Watkins are in. I know a couple of them have joined into the Discord. Welcome. And you can do that for any of your other friends in different leagues. Anybody's welcome to come in. Like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of different things. Eliminator challenge. We'll probably do something like, what is it called, squares or whatever. I'm not big into it, but I'm sure someone can lead the way. And once again, it's something that we can earn a bit on the side to apply to other fun things like whoever has the most points scored in a league on a day or something, just something to hand out and
Game of the week in Prime League is the priority right now. I'd like to do a cash prize for that, but we can't do that without cash.
Yeah, that's $130 probably if we do $10 each week.
Yeah.
We'll see. Anyway,
going back to what he said real quick though, feel free to post the Discord link in any leagues you're in. Try and recruit people. We're not, fantasy is one of those things where like nobody plays in just one league. It's not like we're poaching people, but at the same time, ask your league owner. Like if you're in a bunch of leagues, like maybe ask whoever runs the league, be like, hey, do you mind if I post this Discord link? Don't just like start spamming it willy-nilly, because I don't really want that optic either, that we're like trying to poach people. But obviously fantasy being what it is, we all are degenerates and play in 100 leagues. Like, come on. But yeah, ask league owners, hey, do you mind if I post this Discord link? Friend of mine runs a fantasy community.
I
Just
like
trying to
friends.
funnel people here so we can run more leagues, do more stuff like the Eliminator tournament, shit like that.
Perfect. This week will probably be not as long as the first 3 weeks. We have nobody who could make it today, but we have about a paragraph each for a couple of the teams on their answers for some questions. So um, we'll do the Rams first for this week. As I said, or maybe I didn't say, but we're doing the NFC West. So with the Rams, all right. So questions for the Rams was, where do you see yourself in the pecking order of your division? What is your plan for after Stafford? What is your plan to address lack of depth other than defensive back?
I
Watkins.
have an answer from him. He said, I know I can't really compete for first at all, so I wouldn't be too mad if I got last in the division. Looking to move a few more pieces on my team now to get some more depth and help with the rebuild. I have 2 first-round picks for the next year, and depending on what they are, I'll either use those to get a quarterback or more likely use them to trade for a quarterback and more depth so that I can knock out 2 birds with 1 stone.
From my understanding, next year is actually going to be a pretty good year.
For
Uh,
quarterbacks, yes.
draft class for quarterbacks. So
Um, oh, yeah, I guess you have his players pulled up. I was going to see what picks he had. I can pull that up real quick. I don't know why I didn't pull up Prime League on my phone like I normally do.
let me go to league. Let me go to the
Oh, okay.
Rams. Scroll down.
So he's
So
got the Cowboys and his own. Okay, so his own pick should wind up being relatively high. I mean, he's one of the tanking teams. He's not the Texans, so I don't, he's not going to be first overall. But if he ends up with like a top 7 pick, I think that's a quarterback in next year's
he'll
class. Easy.
easily a
He's
top
not
seven,
getting Caleb Williams, but
easily a top 10 pick. He could probably, if he really got desperate, package those 2 firsts to move up,
yeah.
depending on what other teams are out, are above him, and if they need a quarterback or not. But yeah, he's got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks next year, 2 firsts. One of the things about this division that is actually different from the other 3 we've kind of covered is this isn't just a
2 up, 2
top to
down.
top. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more muddy.
Well, I think that the Rams will probably end up in last in this division. I don't think they're quite as bad as, say, the
They
2
didn't.
NFC North teams.
Yeah, they didn't go like full tank.
Yeah.
They didn't go the Texans route. They didn't go like the Saints route or the Lions route. They're more kind of chilling in the middle. They sold off some of the more high value pieces, but they actually kept a lot and actually picked up some stuff already
Yeah.
that I would consider rebuild pieces. So I think that they're looking to short turnaround rebuild.
An example would be the trade that we did. Christian Kirk isn't the youngest cat in
He's
in
only
the litter box,
26 though. That's
but I mean, he out of it, I got Cooper Cup, who should be older than him.
he is.
Yeah,
I think Cup's
uh,
29.
yeah, he's getting up there. So I mean, there was more to it than just that whole trade. It was Ingram, Kirk, and Campbell for Higbee Cup in my third. So I mean, he got younger.
Yeah,
I
got rid
got
of his big pieces. And as far as I'm aware, I've talked to him a little. I haven't talked to this owner that much. But he's still holding a couple pieces that I think he can easily flip once the league is going. Because, competing teams, there's going to be injuries. Teams are going to realize that they have a hole that they didn't really identify correctly. And the Rams owner still has, like, Aaron Donald. Now, Aaron Donald is not to fantasy what he is to real life NFL, but he's still solid. Now he's old and could be playing in his last year, but to a contending team, it's worth a second, third, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Aaron Donald's not going to be putting up 336 points again this year, but he definitely would be at worst backup material
Yeah.
for somebody on the D line. Ingram, I mean, he could go out. Stafford, and
Yeah.
he needs a quarterback. He could trade Stafford to a team whose quarterback got hurt.
Yep.
Christian Kirk is a good receiver, as is Lazard. Um, so I mean, those guys could go out for some money as well. And Gibson, I'm not.
I imagine he probably holds Gibson. We we don't need to get back on the Gibson versus fucking Brian Robinson track. All right, Gibson's the better running back. He's probably going to hold Gibson.
At this point, I think every week I just want to bring up Robinson and how great he is.
No, after this week, we'll be moving on to the AFC, and Gibson and Robinson are neither one of them are there, so we can get away from this.
I'll find a way somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just randomly compare a running back.
We'll talk about the New England Patriots and how their tight end used to shoot somebody, kind of like how Brian Robinson got shot that one time. Yeah. It'll be the most convoluted 7 degrees to Robinson. But yeah, so that's pretty much all we have for the Rams on this. We'll go ahead and go into what we expect their record to be at the end of the year. Personally, I have the Rams going 3-10 this year.
I also have the Rams going 3-10 this year.
We're really good at
have this. Have you learned from the past 3 weeks? Do you have their weekly wins and losses pulled up?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah, look at that.
Who are the 3 you have them beating?
I don't know. I have the 10 that they're losing to, though.
Well, great.
I have them losing to the Cardinals, Cowboys, Seahawks, 49ers, Eagles, Cardinals, Broncos, Seahawks, Raiders, and 49ers. So whatever 3 teams are not those.
Chargers, Giants, Commanders? You have them beating the Commanders?
I think I do.
Or Raiders, maybe? I don't know which one you said.
I said the Raiders.
You might have not said Commanders then, which is weird.
If he's playing the Commanders, that would be the team I don't have on here. So
interesting.
Yep. Now I gotta fucking pull it up.
I'm with you that he beats the Giants and he beats the Chargers. I actually have him splitting with the Cardinals.
So my thing on the Cardinals is all the draft picks make him very
hit or miss.
Yeah, volatile in terms of what I think he will do.
Yep.
So his record actually will reflect that, I think, a lot whenever we get to that team, which is actually who we're going to do next. But yeah, so with that, we will hop on over to the Cardinals, which is John the Dougler. All right, so John joined during the draft, right before the draft, something like that.
It was a little bit before the draft, I think.
And he basically said, I'm just going to scrap this team and get every draft pick in the world and nail them.
Only started with 3, though.
Only started with 3, but he got picks. Personally, I felt like the Cardinals were already in a good place.
The Cardinals roster to start, with this type of league is honestly probably one of the better ones.
I thought they were a dark horse to make the playoffs. So he broke down the question, all the questions one by one, and then the answer. So first is what is the direction with this team? Definitely on the younger side with a goal to compete next year once Kyler is back to full health. This division is brutal, and I figured early on that I didn't have a realistic shot at the championship this year. So my goal was purely to accrue value where I could. I did not have any obvious holes with a pretty solid roster, so could afford to just take best player available in the draft. Love the depth I've been able to build out. Just got to hope these rookies perform. I have no real expectations this year, just enjoying the ride. I would say he pretty much said what we said. He had a pretty solid roster. The only thing I'm concerned with is he's hoping for Kyler to come back to full health. I don't know that Kyler is the quarterback that's going to lead him to the promised land.
I agree with that. Could easily be wrong. Kyler could end up being turning it around. I mean, we can't forget the first, 3 years in the league, Kyler was the 6th, 3rd, and 10th overall quarterback in PPR. He's not bad. The Cardinals are just bad.
Did they get rid of their head coach? They fired him, right?
Cliff Kingsbury, I think so.
Yeah, okay. I mean, maybe that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, it could. Kyler got hurt last year. He's probably not going to be back for week 1.
Yeah, and I mean, a good example is Russ Wilson. I'm sure Russ Wilson will have a great comeback year this year.
Yeah, I can't imagine Russ does as bad as he did last year.
Not as bad as he was last year. Not as good as he was in Seattle, but probably enough to at least compete in the AFC West, which is
Yeah,
actually saying a lot with the Chiefs being there. So,
I mean
and the
Chargers
Chargers.
too. Yeah.
So, the second part also, how are you feeling about Hollywood trade after the fact? Feel great about it. Always knew I was swapping Hollywood for one of the first round rookies who I have ranked ahead of him. The fact that it turned into Addison was a cherry on top. Plus, I was able to get some type of young depth for Ertz before his value dried up. Anything to add to that?
No, I'd like to know what that trade was though. Let me look it up. Hollywood Brown and Zach Ertz for DeMar Hamlin, and then a first round pick from the It was the Panthers' first round pick, but he traded with the Bills.
Okay.
And then he said that pick turned into Addison. So
Yeah.
so Zach Ertz and Hollywood Brown for DeMar Hamlin and Jordan Addison.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. We can speak on Addison briefly. Obviously, I think that was actually one of the questions that he got asked is how does he feel about Addison when he'll never be more than a number two in Minnesota. Like with Jettas there, he's never going to be more than the number two wide receiver. Yeah, I mean, I really like Addison, and okay, he'll never be more than the number two, but I mean, T. Higgins, if he stays on the Bengals, is never going to be more than the number two, and he's doing just fine. Same with Devontae Smith on the Eagles. Never going to beat out AJ Brown for wide receiver one, and I think he's going to be just
Waddle.
fine. Or yeah, Jalen Waddle, as long as Tyreek Hill's still playing, never going to be wide receiver one, and I think he's doing just fine.
And Waddle would be a one probably in points in about 20 different teams. So.
Yeah.
All right. So number 3, your draft class has been hyped up a lot, but are you feeling the same way, or are you viewing it as mostly question marks? Van Ness not being a starter in college, Gibbs splitting carries, Sidney Brown potentially being the number 3 safety, Felix having yet to have any training camp hype. His answer was, I was pumped about my draft, not necessarily because of the exact players I picked, but the value I was able to acquire from turning 3 picks into 9 picks by draft day trades. I'm not worried about any of my rookies because I was not expecting them to rack up the fantasy points in 23. They were all mostly a bet on 24, where I think they're all going to be starters. I try to be patient in the draft and just take the best players available, and I thought I got each player at super solid value. I'm not going to jump to judgment on my rookie class after minicamp and 1 week of training camp. Also, the worry of Simmons and Zayvon Collins becoming more one detentions type players, strictly DE and DB. All right, next one. Can't get away from. What was thought process behind Addison being he will only ever be at most the number 2 in the
Yeah.
Vikings?
Like I said, I knew that was a question that he got asked. I mean, we've talked about that already. That I think he's going to be great.
So when I picked Addison, JSN, and QJ were off the board, so it was between him and Zay. I had Addison at 2 in this class, so it was an easy call for me. I agree that his ceiling is capped and he's unlikely to ever be top 12 dynasty wide receiver. But we're in a 32-team league, so even if he's a rock solid wide receiver 13 through 18, which I think he'll be in at, which he will be that high passing volume, in that high passing volume, then that totally works for me. I believe in the talent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. On to the next. Also, how are you viewing Rondale Moore, as he will most likely be splitting reps with Greg Dortch, in my opinion, as there is not draft capital ties anymore, and Greg has produced better. From what I remember, Rondale was pretty solid last year when he was on the field, and they don't really have many weapons in Arizona, so I could see both guys producing throughout the year. It'll be interesting to see how this new offense turns out. Definitely is a mystery.
Yeah, I mean, I think those guys are wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3, respectively. Where each of them end up exactly on the depth chart remains to be seen. But I mean, he's got both of them, so no matter what, he's got whoever ascends to wide receiver 2, and then he's got that next person for the depth. Rondale Moore's only 23, Greg Dortch is only 25. Like, I like both of those guys, and I think either one of them could end up being wide receiver 2 there.
Honestly, I think his wide receiver room is pretty good. He doesn't have the superstar in there, but he does have 4 wide receivers he could play at any time to fill out the 2 wide receiver and 2 flex spots.
I mean, 5 really? I guess it. Yeah, I don't know. It depends.
You can't play, but you could super flex, I guess. But
well, right, you're right. There's only 4. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he doesn't have like a wide receiver one for
No.
any team. He's got Addison, who we know is going to be wide receiver 2 for the Vikings, Tyler Boyd, wide receiver 3 for the Bengals, Rondell Moore and Greg Dortch. One of them is going to be wide receiver 2, and then the other one wide receiver 3, respectively. And then he also got Josh Downs in the draft, who, I mean, I guess theoretically Josh Downs could ascend to wide receiver 1 for the Colts. It's probably not going to happen this year. But I mean, his only competition is Michael Pittman, which I would hate if Downs somehow hops Pittman on the depth chart, but it could happen.
You never know. Rookies tend to gel better with rookies, it seems. So maybe Richardson and Downs gel. And
again, I personally would hate that, having Michael Pittman on my team, but it's a possibility. So I mean, yeah, no true wide receiver 1, but all of those guys are solid receivers.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, last part to his outside of DB, how are you valuing depth? I'm really happy with my defensive depth after I added all those rookies. I'm at least 4 deep across all positions. And if these rookies hit, it's going to be wheels up for this defense. On offense, I've got some work to do, but I'm not in a rush to figure that out right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we haven't come to roster cuts yet, so he's going to have to make some hard decisions eventually. But I mean, you know, again with the Cardinals starting roster, starting with Isaiah Simmons and Zayvon Collins is a huge boost. I think both those guys are studs, and they're going to continue to be studs. And then Kaiser White is a stud. Zach Allen is a dude. I mean, Budda Baker's a stud.
Yeah.
Jalen Thompson is a stud. Then he drafted Luka Van Ness. He's got Dan Henley on his taxi squad. I think he's going to be a stud. Isaiah Foskey. And then, you know, a bunch of other depth.
Yeah. For a bit of a spoiler, I actually had Baker was one of the 3 finalists for my defensive player of the year in this division. So
Budda Baker, yeah. I could see that. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be just like a lot of other teams. He's not going to be the only team like this where his starting lineup looks great, and then you scroll down to their bench and you're like, okay. So like on a bye week, you're really subbing out like a maybe 7 to 12 point a game earner for a 2 to 5 point a game earner. But I mean, a lot of teams are going to be like that.
Yeah, that's what it's just going to be like that. 32 teams. All right. Record, what you got for them?
For the Cardinals, I have them going 3-10, same as the Rams.
Okay, well, we're going to be a little bit different on this. I actually have them going 6-7.
Damn.
Yeah. I have them losing to the Redskins, the 49ers, the Broncos, the Seahawks, the 49ers again, the Chiefs, and the Seahawks again.
Who cares about who they lose to? Who do they beat, TJ? That's what people care. That's what people care about. Who am I going to beat?
Everybody but that. So that's
right.
The Rams twice, and then 4 other teams.
Great. Okay, I have them beating the Giants in Week 3, beating the Rams in Week 8, and beating the Chargers in Week 9, and then losing to everybody else. Because I mean, the problem is this division got fucked in their schedule. Not only do they play the NFC, the East, where the Cowboys and the Eagles are this year, so they have to face 2 of the top 10 teams in the league. They play the AFC West, which also has 2 of the top 10 teams in the league, and the Chiefs and the Broncos. So this year they've got to play the Cowboys, Eagles, Chiefs, and Broncos, 4 top 10 teams.
So let's see, that's the Rams, the Giants.
Go away.
I got them beating. I actually have them beating Dallas, and I think we actually both had them beating Dallas when we went through the NFC East.
Oh, I remember that, maybe because of bye weeks or something, but I don't know. I've got them losing to Dallas. I think you're right, though. I remember having them beating Dallas and the Eagles, I think. I called the Cardinals the killer of that division, and now I've got them losing to both of them.
Yep, because the Eagles are in bye week hell that week, so.
Yeah, normally I look at that. Maybe I missed that for the Eagles that week. I don't know why.
So that's actually, that's where I got the...
Again, I think we said this last week on the pod, like, this is all in a vacuum. None of these records, if you put them together at the end of the year, they're not going to make sense.
It wouldn't be surprised if half of the teams I said we're going to lose one week, I have them winning by the time I get to them. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I got them 6-7. So I don't think they'll have a bad year. I don't think they'll have a great year, but with all these rookies, it's so much of a toss-up. We'll have to see.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of games where I was 50-50 on it. I mean, I was 50-50 on the game with the Commanders, with the one that I have them splitting with the Rams, even with the Seahawks some weeks. I'm like, this could go either way.
And speaking of the Seahawks, that's who I'm actually going to go with next. We had questions. We did not get any answers, so me and Watkins are going to pretend like we're Seahawk owners. The question was, after creating your team before a lot of other teams made their way for win now mode, how do you see yourself competing in the league this year? How worried are you about Walker with his injury and ETN losing reps to Tank and Johnson? Do you feel we see same Geno as last year, or he resorts to what he had been every single year prior?
Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks were probably the first team to go all in, right? Like, I can't
They
think of a
were.
team that made those kind of moves that early.
They went hard, fast.
So, I mean, I remember that being the first big trade I remember seeing was A.J. Brown for
Oh, he
first,
made
second, and third.
huge trades. I mean, he picked ETN from me for Lockett a first and a second,
Yep.
um, which probably turns out to be a for me. What do you get? What do you trade Brown for Brown? He got
A whole draft class, pretty much.
pretty much first, second, and third. 2023 second, third, and next year's first.
Picked up Chandler Jones for Boy Maffey.
Yeah, he took care of his entire draft class this year, next year, and the year after, I believe. And then we added the fourth round, so I think he still has those.
Yes, he
But
still has the fourth rounds, but other than that, he doesn't have anything until 2026.
he picked up Aaron Jones for Rashard Penny, a third and a first. Let's see here. Barton was free agent.
Yeah, he picked up a lot of free agents too.
Yeah, so uh, yeah. So my biggest thing was he did all this, and he went win now for the next 3 years. I mean, he has no draft picks. I mean, clearly he has things he could trade if he needs to. I don't know that he will. This is younger players. Like I think ETN probably still is going to be a premier back for Jacksonville. He just has the tools for it. My biggest concern was always right here, Geno Smith. This is a super flex league. We don't have to have a quarterback. He could theoretically run ETN, Jones, and Walker, and have one of those at super flex, and he's got the wide receivers to cover as well. But quarterbacks are going to be the dominant players in the league with the points that they score. His defense is better than average, but still not great.
I don't know, man. I really like his defense. It's just old.
Okay, that's an opinion.
I mean, shit. He's got Jamal Adams. He's got Chandler Jones. He's got Cody Barton. He's got Jordan Brooks. He's got Reek Woolen. Like, he's got some fucking stars. They're just old.
Yeah, above average. He does have Noah Fant for his tight end.
I'm not a big Noah Fant fan. I think that's gonna be bad. So yeah, I don't love Fant as the tight end.
So, in short, I feel like he went in hard. Everybody else just went in a little bit harder, and I don't know that he did enough to even win this division, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, one of those things. He went real hard, real fast out of the gate, and got players for maybe, some of them probably cheaper than they would have been if they would have waited. Like, I don't know that A.J. Brown goes for a first, second, and third a month later or 2 months later.
Yeah.
That's probably
after the market settled, yeah.
Yeah, like A.J. Brown would be multiple firsts at this point in the league.
Again, ETN probably wouldn't be Tyler Lockett in a first and second, maybe a first and second by itself. But Tyler Lockett still has a little bit of gas. I mean, being on the opposite side of Metcalf, he's going to, have some of those one-on-ones, and
Yeah.
he will keep winning.
Yeah, and I mean, starting with Walker and Metcalf and some of the Seahawks defensive players, not a bad place to be. Obviously, Geno's the big question mark. And look, even if Geno's 12 PPR quarterback, 15 PPR quarterback this year, better than half the league,
It is.
Like, he doesn't have to be top 5 again for
Do
the
you think
Seahawks to win games.
Do you think he breaks the top 16?
I don't know. I really don't. Like, clearly Geno can fucking throw the ball. He showed it last year. Like,
Yeah, he was what, fifth last year, something like that.
yeah, the fifth number 5 quarterback in PPR. He threw for 4,200 yards, almost 4,300 yards. Only 30 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. It's pretty rough, but he ran, a decent amount. Nothing like crazy, but he can move. I mean, I don't know. He's 32. He could still play for a couple more years. It's not like we're talking about Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. Like, he could play for another year or two. It's not like he's been worn down by a decade of being a starter.
He for sure isn't a grandpa in the league yet.
Right.
I think the Seahawks go 7-6, so one better than the Cardinals.
I also have the Seahawks 7-6.
All right.
I mean, I have them losing to all the really good teams and beating all of the middle of the road.
Me too. I have them losing to the Eagles, Niners, Raiders, Chiefs, and Cowboys.
Yeah, I also have them losing to the Raiders. I thought that might be controversial, but I don't know.
I think the Raiders are sneaky good.
Yeah, I think they kind of are too.
And it hurts because I did not have them ranked very high. So
yeah, me neither.
I'm sorry, Leon.
Yeah, we're sorry, Leon.
Forever doubting you. Apparently, we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Every time I do these,
100% truth.
Do these rank or the projections, and it's the time to project when they face the Raiders. I'm like, I think Leon pulls this out. It's like every week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Leon's gonna do it this week. Every week.
Yeah, until we get to his projections, and we're like, we got the Raiders going 1-12.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because that's when he plays all the AFC West teams, and we were like, oh yeah, he's got to play all this crap.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy.
It's going to be just like the Seahawks. He's going to lose to all of the really good teams and then beat all of the middle of the road and below teams. I mean, the Seahawks are somebody who I think is going to be a bubble wild card team. I think that's going to be like if you draw the Seahawks as your opponent in the wild card week, you go, fuck.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's the team that's just kind of better than all the other wild card teams, but not good enough to beat the Chiefs and the Cowboys and the 49ers.
Right. Yeah, they're the better part of the mid tier.
Yeah.
All right, for the 49ers, you're going to pull this up. I did not get the answers. Apparently, this is also a paragraph.
Oh yeah. URL fucking gave us the content, baby.
So the questions are broken down. So hopefully the questions being broken down. Should I just read the whole thing out to you?
No, just one question at a time here.
Okay.
On to the 49ers.
Can we get insight on your thoughts behind Stingley trade, as cornerbacks usually don't perform the highest in fantasy?
You ready for this answer?
Bring it.
In all honesty, I may have confused Stingley with Pitre, which was a big mistake and was very stupid on my part. I didn't realize until way after the fact. Anyway, moving on from that.
Okay, that wasn't so bad. What is the ideal scenario for you with?
Well, hold on. So let's go back to that. So he confused Stingley for Pitre. Houston Texans safety, Houston Texans cornerback, both rookies, both hyped rookies, both young. I get it. I get why you would confuse them.
What was the second part? What is the ideal scenario for you with Lance and Purdy?
He said, as for Lance and Purdy, I have thought about it a lot. My ideal scenario is that one of them is traded, and I can just sell him for picks, preferably Lance to Atlanta, since I think that Purdy is a better fit for the system San Francisco has set up. Of course, this would be a perfect scenario, but it isn't the most likely thing to happen, at least early in the season. However, there's no way the Niners are planning to have 4 quarterbacks on their team at once, even with what happened in the NFC Championship game. So they're definitely going to move one. Unfortunately, it's most likely they just cut Brandon Allen or trade him for scraps. As for long-term plan, though, I currently don't really have one. If all 3 or even 4 quarterbacks were to stay on the roster for the whole season, which I highly doubt happening, I will find myself in a real pickle. I mean, I think the obvious answer here is that, I mean, clearly as of right now at least, Purdy's QB1 of San Francisco. And it's not like URL only has one or the other. He's got both.
He's got all three.
Who's the...
Sam Darnold.
Yes. I mean, let's not forget Sam Darnold. And apparently he's getting some fucking training camp hype. Which, I mean, I was a fan of Sam Darnold. I don't think he's bad. I think he's just been put in bad situations, you know?
Yeah, he did play for the Jets and the Panthers before.
Right.
So you put Sam Darnold with the 49ers, maybe...
Kyle Shanahan's a fucking...
Maybe he pulls out some Jimmy G numbers. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Sam Darnold is, the next fucking Patrick Mahomes, but, I mean, he could easily be a starting quarterback, just not a great one. He could be a serviceable one. So, I mean, yeah, really no matter what direction the 49ers go, URL has their quarterback.
Yeah. So, and on this team, I mean, they don't necessarily have to have a great quarterback to be competitive, I think. So
yeah, and I mean, like you said, I think obviously ideal situation is the 49ers trade Trey Lance, but even then, what? To who? For what? To where? Like, is Lance just going to be a QB2? In which case his value isn't really that great. His value will then just be to whatever team he's QB2 for, so they can get their handcuff for their quarterback. Right. And really, even in a league like this, that value is maybe like a third at most. I wouldn't pay more than a third for like my quarterback's handcuff, and only really then if my quarterback has a history with injuries.
Yeah, I don't think I would pay a third.
Maybe a fourth even would be
for my backup for Trevor Lawrence.
So at that point, you're hoping he gets traded to a team that views him as a QB1 and uses him as a QB1. In which case, what teams are out there that would do that? The Buccaneers, maybe. That's the only one I can think of.
He said the Falcons. I don't see the Falcons jumping.
I mean, if Ritter, then maybe. So okay, maybe the Falcons and the Bucks, but the Falcons will wait and see what they have in Ritter first. And honestly, the Bucks would probably wait and see what they have in Trask first too before moving on, because I mean they've got Mayfield and Trask to deal with. Like, I don't know. I think if Lance gets traded, you're looking at him being a backup somewhere. In which cases, the value's not really there for a trade either.
Right.
I think the ideal situation is that San Francisco keeps those three, Lance, Purdy, and Darnold, and you've got all of them, and you just hold them. I don't think you have to worry about trading one of them. I think you just hold them.
Yeah, you don't have to. We've got 15 spots on the bench, so.
I mean, I guess you cut whoever ends up being QB3. You cut them. So more than likely, you end up holding Purdy and Lance is just the handcuff to Purdy.
Okay.
I mean, that's how I view Purdy and Lance, at least. I traded Tua Tango Vailoa for Purdy and Lance and a first-round pick in a different dynasty league, and I'm perfectly happy with it, having both of them.
Okay.
Because, yes, in an ideal world, Lance gets traded. Yes, ready for question 3.
On to next question. Lastly, actually, is there any worry about Adams and Debo having down years? Adams moving with Jimmy and Debo with everyone back healthy.
This is the novel. I have not read this. So,
okay,
here we go. All right, Davante Adams and Debo Samuel. As for the wide receiver situation, I did have some worries about Adams at the start. But after dense research, I feel much more comfortable with the position that he is in. I know that there were also some rumors of him possibly wanting to be traded to the Jets with Rodgers, which would have been even better, or just anywhere else. Honestly, anywhere he goes, I doubt he will go below his mid-wide receiver 1 floor. Now, overall, yes, I think Carr is a much better quarterback, but Adams had 1,142 unrealized air yards, which is the total yards of uncaught passes thrown to a receiver, which was first amongst all wide receivers last year. If he had completed 3% of those unrealized yards, he would have been the overall number 1 wide receiver 1 in fantasy points. Now, I know we could say that, oh, well, Adams just missed his catches. However, many of those passes that were thrown by Carr were either underthrown or overthrown. On top of that, Adams is one of the most talented receivers in the league, and there's no denying that. So I highly doubt the majority of those yards had to deal with his catching ability. This year, Garoppolo is ranked first in completion probability with 69.3%. That would be ranked higher than Matt Stafford, Tom Brady, and Jared Goff, who were all top 5 in that category last year. Now, even if Garoppolo was to get anywhere near that percentage or even a little lower, that would still be much higher completion rate than Carr's last year. When a wide receiver has had low unrealized yards, their quarterback had high completion rates. Some examples are Chris Godwin, 256, ranked 80th, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, 257, ranked 78th, and Cooper Kupp, 323, ranked 70th. In 2020, Adams averaged 25.6 points per game when his unrealized air yards were low. Aaron Rodgers ranked first in completion percentage that year. Because Garoppolo doesn't have the same arm as Carr, I'm expecting more short to intermediate passes, which would minimize his unrealized air yards. In my opinion, Adams will be more consistent and just as good, if not better, than last year. That was part one of his answer.
Oh, there's more?
Well, yeah, because he's still got to talk about Deebo Samuel. That was just all about Davante Adams. So we can break and talk about Davante Adams.
I mean, how do you argue that? I mean, he went.
There's a stats. There's a whole stats thing there that I don't even want to touch. All I will say is that I like Jimmy Garoppolo personally, and as long as Davante Adams is fine with playing for the Raiders and playing with Garoppolo, he's gonna be fine. I mean, it's fucking Tay. It's Tay. He's gonna be fine. Like Garoppolo is a fine quarterback to be throwing him the ball. Like he could have much worse. If he gets traded, I'm sure he wants to be traded. Big surprise, but I expect that he'll play for the Raiders and he's gonna have Garoppolo throwing the ball, and he's gonna be fine. Number 1 wide receiver, probably not. Number 3 wide receiver, probably not. Number 5 wide receiver, I can see that.
I don't. So Jimmy G is a fine quarterback in my opinion. He, I mean, look, you lead a team to the playoffs like he does as much as he has. I mean, you've got to be good. You can't just be a scrub and lead a team.
Yeah. Speaking of that, him leading the 49ers to the playoffs. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but the quarterback show on Netflix, right? They followed Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota for a season.
Yeah.
They did like a little interview thing after the show had come out with the 3 of them talking about it. And they asked those 3 quarterbacks who they thought were the most underappreciated quarterbacks in the league. Patrick Mahomes and Marcus Mariota both said Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins said Jimmy Garoppolo. Basically saying that he basically, I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember exactly what he said, but essentially, Kirk Cousins talking about Jimmy Garoppolo said, I don't see how you can have a player like that do what he did, lead you to a playoff game, and then be like, nah, he's bad. Like, he essentially said that whenever Jimmy Garoppolo is on the field, he finds a way to win. How do you discount that?
And I think that would be my argument in concern with Davante Adams. It's not what can Jimmy and Davante do. A lot of it's going to be what Brian Hoyer and Davante can do. It was when you look at how many games Jimmy's played every year.
Yeah.
From the start. I mean, he wasn't a starter with New England, but 6, 5, 6. Went to San Francisco, 6, 3, 16, 6, 15, and then 11.
I mean, really, you should not look at New England. You should only look starting in San Francisco when he became a starter. So, but I mean, yes, obviously he's been injured. He's missed it.
I was going to say, regardless, that's still half the seasons he was less than half the games.
Yeah, I guess really that's what it comes down to is, does Jimmy Garoppolo play a full season with the Raiders? I think if he plays a full season, you're looking at Adams being a top 5 wide receiver. If it's Brian Hoyer leading the Raiders half of the weeks, then that's bad.
Not good. What is it with all these former New England quarterbacks playing for?
Well, Tom Brady's a part owner now. He's got
Okay.
to collect in the
Tom
New
Brady is
England.
probably going to be the first part owner to play quarterback here
It,
pretty soon.
it could happen.
It could. Jimmy G is going to go down, and Tom Brady's just going to suit up.
In which case, Tay Adams, number 1 wide receiver this year.
No, I think Tom Brady's done.
All right, and then part 2 of that answer is about Debo.
Go for it, Debo. What you got?
As for Debo, I haven't done as much research because I just have faith as a Niners fan and need him to do both in real life and fantasy. Based off of what I've heard and seen in training camp, though, it seems that he is back to his full health and ready to dominate. As much as I would want it, I highly doubt that he will replicate his monster 2021 season. However, I do feel that he is undervalued at his ADP. I can see him as a top 15 to 20 wide receiver this season, and I would be more than happy with that. Ayuk, Kittle, and C-Mac, Christian McCaffrey, will def take some reps, targets from him, and I think that's partly what happened last year. But I think that he was also not able to stay 100% healthy, and thus Shanahan didn't use him to his max. I have seen more and more reports recently that the 49ers are planning on integrating him into the rushing game like they did in 2021, especially since they want to ease Christian McCaffrey back at the beginning of the season due to his injury risk. Again, I don't see him going back to his top 5 wide receiver value, but I think that he's going to surprise people this year and do better than expected. That's what I got.
Personally, I don't think Debo Samuel is the number 1 receiver on the 49ers. I think it's Brandon Ayuk.
I think long term it's Ayuk, yes. Debo's really toolsy. Like, obviously, 2021, they used him rushing the ball a lot. He was more of a fucking running back that year, I feel like, than he was a receiver. At least that was all his big plays. I'd see him doing, like, jet sweeps and take off for 60 yards. But with Christian McCaffrey, they don't really need that.
As for bringing McCaffrey in early, or bringing him back in slowly, they still have Elijah Mitchell, who can be a premier back for a lot of teams still. So I don't know that that's necessarily something Debo has to do or will do either.
No.
I think when it comes down to it, is Debo's just not going to get enough to be what he's projected, 210 points this year. Like I said, I think Ayuk is a better and probably more of the wide receiver 1. You've got George Kittle, you got McCaffrey, and if
I honestly think that McCaffrey ends up essentially being a receiver more than a running back this year, and they use Elijah Mitchell for like between the tackles running.
Yeah, which isn't bad. I mean, it's
I mean, Christian McCaffrey was born to. I mean, he's as far as my memory goes, he's like the best pass catching back that the league has seen in a long time. I don't think that he's got like anybody even close to him that I could think of off the top of my head at least that can match what Christian McCaffrey can do as a receiver out of the backfield.
Put you on the spot. Quick question. Would you rather have in their prime Christian McCaffrey or Marshall Faulk?
Oh, that's true. I guess in their prime, I think I'd rather have Christian McCaffrey.
Go Marshall Faulk.
I mean, Faulk's a bad dude, but I don't know. Christian McCaffrey can kind of just do everything.
Yeah, like get hurt.
Yeah, well, I'm saying in their prime,
perfectly in a bubble, perfectly healthy.
In Christian a bubble, McCaffrey. I think I'd rather have a perfectly healthy Christian McCaffrey, honestly.
Story. Anyway, after that, what it comes down to me is, I don't know that Debo just gets enough, and he's actually third in projections behind Jerry Jeudy, which Jeudy may have. I've never been a big Broncos fan of any.
Me neither.
Big fan of any of the Broncos receivers, but if Russ has that comeback year, he could be the number 2 receiver over Debo. Bottom line, he's got really good wide receivers, though.
Does he have Ayuk still, or did he trade Ayuk?
Ayuk is gone.
Okay.
Let's see here. Let me search for him. Ayuk is on Zacatec, so he's
trade him to the Broncos.
Yeah, so he's a Bronco now.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like Debo. I think Debo's going to be fine. he could end up being wide receiver 1 for the 49ers, but they have enough weapons that even as wide receiver 1, I don't, it could be like a Chiefs situation where, sure, congrats, Debo, you're wide receiver 1 of the 49ers with your 140 fantasy points this year. Great. Congrats.
I'm wondering what his projections are this year. Why can I not find Sam? Because it's the very first team. Why would I look at the very first team? So they got Debo at 217, Ayuk at 211.
Yeah.
Which is 428 points for their top 2 wide receivers.
Yeah.
And they still got to feed Kittle and McCaffrey and Mitchell.
I mean, Mitchell's not really going to be... I don't know. Like I said, I think you're looking at wide receiver 1, 2, Debo and Samuel, or Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, and then wide receiver 3 is Christian McCaffrey. So, and then they got Mitchell for actually running the ball.
And apparently, Zach
and then of course George Kittle, who's a monster.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Obviously, for a team that's trying to compete as much as the 49ers are, there would be better, that he would want over Debo. So I mean, he could theoretically like package Debo and maybe go get somebody like I doubt the Cowboys trade CeeDee Lamb, but that's just the name that came to my mind. Like maybe you could package Debo in something else good for like a CeeDee Lamb or an A.J. Brown or a Jalen Waddle, a player like that, and get an upgrade from Debo. But I don't know that he necessarily needs to when you've got Devontae Adams, Jerry Jeudy, and even Brandon Cooks still. Like it's not like he's hurting at wide receiver,
Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all. I think he's got a great wide receiver. All right.
Projections.
What you got for the record?
I only have them going 9-4, which I mean is enough to win the division and lock up a playoff spot, but I only have them going 9-4.
I as well have him going 9-4.
We agree a lot on these.
We really do. So really, the Arizona Cardinals is the only thing we have. Apparently, you do not have any respect for John the Douglas.
I do. I don't know. His roster's too volatile and hard to predict. So
who do you have the 49ers losing to?
Cowboys, Chiefs, Broncos, and the Raiders.
I think I actually have them beating the Chiefs and losing to the Redskins.
That's insane, but okay.
That's what I have on my sheet. Anyway, that's the AFC West. Let's stay on track with the NFC.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So basically, you and me both have it going 49ers, Seahawks. I have the Cardinals, Rams. You have the Cardinals and Rams both being 10.
Yeah. I think the Cardinals probably score more points, though, so they'll end up third in the division even if they do tie.
Okay. Which I feel like, I think the 49ers have the clear advantage, but I do see the 49ers, Seahawks, and Cardinals all three having that opportunity to pull off the division.
Yeah.
And the Rams just kind of bringing up the rear for this year.
I look at the 49ers as a playoff team, regardless of whether they get there winning their division or locking up a wild card spot, that probably, like a lot of teams in the playoffs, are going to get to the playoffs and then just meet the weed whacker that is the Cowboys or the Chiefs or the Broncos and just be like, well, sucks, you tried.
All right. Offensive player of the year. I try my best not just to go chalk on all my picks. I know the last couple of weeks I pretty much picked who would be projected to be the highest. So the chalk person would be Devontae Adams. As I was saying earlier, I don't know that Devontae Adams is going to score the amount of points that I think they do, because I think Jimmy G is going to be hurt at least 3 or 4 games. I didn't pick Brown. I actually went with somebody who's kind of farther down. I went with this is going to be crazy, but I went with Aaron Jones.
Really?
I think Green Bay is going to rely on a lot more. I think Aaron Jones is going to have a breakout year.
At 28 years old, Aaron Jones is going to have a breakout year.
Not even a breakout year, but
historically a top 10 running back breakout year.
Well, a resurgent year. How about that?
I don't know, man. With AJ Dillon there, I don't think that he. I mean, to get to the points that he would need to become the offensive player of the year, I think of this division, he'd need to be the number one running back in all of football next
Do you think he
season.
needs to score 300 points to do it? I don't think he'll need to score 300 points.
I mean, I think he'll have to get pretty close.
I think 290. Not even that. Probably 285.
I mean, I guess I could see it. I don't know. I like Aaron Jones. I don't know. I went with AJ Brown, so I went with the chalk pick.
No,
I don't think
Devontae
it's.
Adams chalk.
Well, I don't. I think it's pretty obvious that Tay is going to have a down year. Even still being a top 5 wide receiver, I think AJ Brown's going to beat him out.
I've just never had faith in AJ Brown.
Oh, I've always liked AJ Brown, and another year to gel with Jalen Hurts, I think AJ Brown's going to be a fucking problem.
Let's hope Jalen Hurts stays healthy.
Yeah.
Who you got for defensive player of the year?
I legitimately couldn't decide on one, so I picked 2. They're both for the 49ers, so I figured it's fine. I think it's going to be one of Nick Bosa or Fred Warner for the 49ers.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
I didn't pick either one of them, but I did pick a 49er.
What? Did you pick Talufanawa Halolafangala?
I sure did.
Okay. Interesting. You think
reason-
a safety is going to score more fantasy points than a middle linebacker or a defensive end?
My reasoning for that is I believe that San Francisco will be winning their games more often than not, so their secondary is going to have more opportunity.
Okay. I could see that. That's not a bad reasoning.
So,
I mean, I really like Talanoa, so it was definitely a player that I looked at and I was like, maybe. It's just hard to look at Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and say that he's going to outscore them.
So that's it for the NFC West. I did want to add one more thing. I forgot to mention at the beginning. My app finally updated. I'm a real boy again.
You have the real UI again.
I just turned it on this morning and it was telling me how to do all these things and it was different. So I don't know what happened. Other than that, I'm actually going to do one more thing. I'm going to throw you a curve.
Oh yeah.
We're done with the NFC. In real life, who wins each of these divisions for you? So we'll start with the NFC West because that's probably the easiest.
Oh God, in real life?
In real life, who's winning the NFC West?
The 49ers.
You got it. That's who I'm picking too. That's why I said second easiest in my opinion. The NFC East. Who's winning the East?
The Eagles.
I would agree. I think the Eagles.
I think the Cowboys might make it close, but I think the Eagles are going to pull it out.
Okay. NFC South. Who do you got?
Gross. I don't want to answer. None of them. Can I pick none of them?
No, someone's got to win.
I hate the entirety of the NFC South in real life.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I like the Falcons. I kind of low-key like the Falcons. I don't know.
You're dead now, but,
So, the Falcons with Ritter, I don't know. The Panthers, Bryce Young, rookie year, traded away DJ Moore, I don't know. Buccaneers are like, hey, we got our rings. See ya in the future. And then the Saints with Carr. I guess I'm going to have to go with the fucking Saints. I don't like that answer, but I think I have to go with the Saints.
Mine came down to the Saints or the Panthers. It really just depends on, how well Panthers quarterback situation goes.
I mean, I think the Panthers and the Falcons either one of them could kind of give the Saints a run for their money if their quarterback works out, but I think it's going to be Carr and the Saints.
I'm going to go with the Panthers.
I could see it.
Okay. So we're it's on video now who we got. So one of us is going to look like an idiot. I'm sorry for you. NFC North, can't say Bears. You better not say Bears.
Why can't I say the Bears? Why can't the Bears win the division this year, TJ?
Because there's 2 other teams that are better than them.
Better or different?
Better.
Why?
Because they have more talent.
See, I don't know.
Okay.
I think the Bears are going to surprise a lot of people this year. I didn't say I didn't say that they were going to win. I just asked why I couldn't pick them. Why can't they win? I think they could win. I think there's a
Okay.
real world shot where the Bears win the NFC North this year.
I still believe
If I had to
on this.
pick, it's going to be the Vikings.
I still believe on this day, August 3rd, 2023, that the 40-65, whatever they are, St. Louis Cardinals are going to come back and win the Central too. How about that?
Yeah.
It could happen.
Hey,
They've got the talent.
hey, I'm gonna pull this clip and send it to you when the Bears are like fucking 10-4.
Please do it.
I think it's the Vikings,
Okay.
and then I think the Bears and Lions are gonna fight for the second place spot. I think the Packers. I actually, honestly, I don't know. The Packers could just as easily have a really good year if Jordan Love is good. I actually think the North, for the first time in a long time, is gonna be a fucking battleground. Because for the past, 5 years, it's been the Lions
Okay.
and the Bears. And then
I've
the
got the
Vikings
Lions.
and Packers just fight for it. But this year, I think all four teams have an outside shot at winning.
I think the Lions win the NFC North.
I think I'd have to go with the Vikings, but I think it could just as easily be any team. I think that's one of the divisions in football, in real life, that any team of the four could win.
All right. Final two NFC. So for the NFC Championship, who's going to the Super Bowl?
Ooh, who's going to the Super Bowl?
Well, which two teams will be in the NFC Championship and which one wins? I think this is an easy answer for the NFC. When we get to the AFC, it's going to be
Eagles, 49ers, I guess, in the championship game, and then I don't know. I think either one of those could win. It would depend on the quarterback situation for 49ers throughout the year. I think I'd probably, I hate to say it, but I think we see the Eagles in the Super Bowl again next year.
Okay. I'm going to agree.
We might
49ers,
straight up get a rematch next year of last year.
Possibly. But yep, I'm going to go 49ers, Eagles, and Eagles going to the Super Bowl again. And I don't like it. I like to see diversity. So.
Yeah, me too. And it's been pretty diverse for like the past 8 years or so, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Since New England stopped going every goddamn single year. But then he went to Tampa Bay, and then they just started going every year instead.
Yeah. It's just like the top Brady thing.
It was better than the Patriots. I like the Buccaneers more. I like Buccaneers Tom Brady better than Patriots Tom Brady.
All right. So next week, AFC North, that is the Ravens, the Bungles, the Steelers, and Ulmer, aka the Browns. Any of you four want to jump in? Let one of us know. Anybody want to ask them a question? Put it in the questions chat. We'll go over them. Probably have it out next Thursday, next Friday, next week. Down to the wire. Got to get these last four in, and then we'll start doing our projections. I kind of want to do something with the projections where like we keep record of what you pick and what I pick, and whoever has the best record makes the other person do something. And then we can also do something maybe like a league ranking, like where we could just have you love your chat or your little channels, so
I do.
maybe make a channel where you can put all the teams and all the games and let everybody vote and see who wins between you, me, and the league.
Yeah, we could do that. Like, you want to project everybody's win-loss record, or just like project their placement?
Win-loss. So
okay.
Week 1, between the 16 games, I'll pick mine, you pick yours, so we'll let the league pick.
Oh, so like
vote.
We're picking week by week who the winners of each game are.
And then
so like
we'll
a
have
pick'ems contest.
Yeah, and then we'll have a total tally at the end. Whoever had the best between you,
me, you, and the league, and just do it in the. Yeah, we can do that. We can do a pick'ems contest. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Yeah, and then when I win, I'll make you shave your beard or something.
Oh God. Oh God. I don't want to play anymore. Yeah, we can do that. I can set that up. We can do a pick'ems thing for the league this year.
Look at me thinking right off the top of my head.
Me, you versus the league, and the winner gets to give the losers a punishment.
Yeah.
So if the league beats both of us, then they can collectively give us punishments.
Yeah, we'll let them put up some options, and then we'll let them vote.
Yep.
Oh God, what have I done?
Yeah, one of us better win. And I better win, so I don't have to shave my fucking beard.
I might make you do something else.
I mean, that would be, honestly, I would hate that, and Brittany would fucking kill you. So.
I mean, if she drives a day and a half to come kill me, worth it.
Yeah.
All right, with that, we're gonna sign out. Said it was gonna be short. It didn't. It wasn't short at all.
Yeah, we've been recording for an hour and a half.
Yeah, so it'll still probably break down to about an hour. All right,
I've been
boys.
making every episode under an hour, no matter what. So this one might be the first one that's a little tight on that.
All right. Well, we'll see. Keep up the activity, guys. We love to see all the general chat and chatter. Add more people. Sign up for everything. Let's turn this into something. With that,
Working on it.
we'll say good night. See you guys later.